Hello and welcome to Seagulls Social, the big match preview. It is, of course, Brighton of Albion versus Crystal Palace. Not our not our neighbours, but they are rivals. They are rivals, and it's a rivalry game, and it's always a big one, isn't it? It's always a cup final.
It's the big one.
It's the big one, and historically, Palace usually turn up, and we don't really usually have the rub of the green. We've had some good performances. Knockout stands out, obviously the worldy goal.
Why'd you let it bounce?
And Done. Why'd you let it bounce?
Oh, waves.
David Lopez, free kick.
There's been some good
Lopez,
times.
yeah,
There's been some good times, but obviously some bad times as well. Notably, Poogate. That was not one for the memory book.
Playoffs.
The playoff final.
What a terrible day that was.
That was very
there's been highs and lows, boys. There's been highs and lows, but fingers crossed, come the weekend, it will be another high for the mighty Brighton of Albion. So let's start off with you, Ryan. How are your feelings going into this? Are you confident? Obviously, we're going into this the favourites on paper, but Palace are having a bit of a poorer season in comparison to us. But that doesn't mean anything, as we all know. Are you confident going into this?
Mate, I put on a thing about Zaha, didn't I, the other day? I was like, because I saw someone put it on, Palace fan, and they were like, he's going to be back for Brighton, isn't he? And I was like, I'm not going all the way to Sellers Park just to watch this man dance in front of me when he should be out for 6 weeks. Like, I just can't do it. Like, I don't think that by the reaction of Palace fans, it seems like he will be out. I mean, look, we don't want to be hoping that he's out because at the end of the day, if you beat them, you want to beat them with their best team.
Yeah, full strength.
But at the same time, if they don't have Zaha, you would fancy your chances a little bit more. But to be honest with you, just as you say, rightfully, it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't. Like, we could be top of the league. We could be like Man City spending like 600 million, Chelsea spending 600 million, being the best team in the league by a mile. And I'd still be worried about playing Palace, even if they're when you play
Palace. Yeah,
it doesn't matter. Yeah, it is a worry. It is a worry, and it's going to be a fun trip, but we'll see. I don't want to call it because it's so scary, isn't it? Like it's one of them where, as you say, like it just everything goes out the window, and like I'd like to hope is my only thing is that Roberto De Zerbi seems like that much more of a winner. Bit more of a I don't think he would take it if he sees at half time we aren't playing up to our best or we're sort of throwing it away, looking like bottlers. I think that he's the sort. If there's anyone out there that looks like the sort of guy that's going to drum it into him to win your rival games, it's Roberto De Zerbi.
Yeah, 100%.
That was a point I wanted to make actually, Ryan. I feel when was the last time we had like a passionate manager for this
Gus.
match against Crystal Palace? A very, very long time ago. Well, Chris Hughton and Graham Potter were very reserved characters on the touchline at Sellers for everywhere they went. De Zerbi, can you imagine if we actually win or we're scoring goals? De Zerbi running around on the touchline, winding up the Palace fans behind him over on that side. It'll be incredible. But on the flip side, like you mentioned, Zaha becomes a different beast whenever we play him. I get flashbacks of him running up to us in the way end, doing this to us, and just like every single time, forget Messi and Ronaldo, he turns into a different beast. Like better than them. It's like them combined. Whenever it's Brighton, he carries that team.
Yeah.
And like you said, form really does not matter in this one, and that's the peak thing. Because on paper, like I said, Maz, we should win this comfortably, but we know it's not the case.
Yeah, and with the absence of Zaha, do we think that obviously they'll be? Let's be real. I think they'll be weaker, to say the least. Without Zaha, obviously,
is it confirmed that he's not? I know that he is injured, but like he obviously, he did take that picture of him training.
Yeah, I think it's pretty much confirmed that he's not. But again,
it seems to happen every time, doesn't it?
Yeah,
like, Zaha's going to be out. Zaha's going to be out. Then he plays, and it's like his recovery time turns into like prime. I don't even know.
That's the thing.
I don't know.
He's back in training, so you never know. Like he can miraculously
the magic sponge.
Yeah, the magic sponge.
Yeah, actually.
That is injections. But let's say Zaha doesn't play. Who are you most fearful of? And we'll start with you, Ben.
Most fearful of, I guess. They have, like I said, they haven't been on form really, haven't they? Haven't been any standout players for them. I remember Elise looks like a tidy player, Eze looked like a tidy player, but they haven't really been doing it too much. He scored a really, really good free kick, Elise, against Man United recently. So he does have that quality about him. But, I've seen Palace fans on Twitter the past few weeks slating most of their players, saying how their championship standard. Nathaniel Klein at right back will be coming up against Matoma, which will be hopefully an incredible battle to watch. Battle, probably not the right word to use. Just complete
Mismatch.
bully hour. Yeah, mismatch from Matoma. But I can't. But to be fair, and this is going to sound really bad, but there's no one on that Palace team without Zaha in it that worries me.
Oh, Ryan. On that note, Ryan, do you want to?
I do worry about. I feel like Edouard, just because of this frenzy of him signing and not signing for us, and then he went to Palace. You never know, Glenn Murray sort of situation. Elise, I think if he scored like an absolute worldie against us or a winner and didn't celebrate and just walked back to the halfway line, I think it would trigger so many Brighton fans and wind up all the Palace fans so much that it would be like unrecoverable. So I think that for that bit of spice element, it's a bit of a worry. I just think that, yeah, as you say, that the passion of that ground at Selhurst on a rival game, you know, it's big, and I just hope that for our sake we don't get bullied by the atmosphere, we don't get bullied by the occasion, because so many times as a Brighton fan, in any situation, not just Palace, but when it comes to big games or there's a big atmosphere away from home, we tend to crumble. But as I said to you, I think that with De Zerbi, I'd like to think that no matter what they throw at us, no matter what they are singing, shouting, whatever, I'd like to hope. You know, he's been in Serie A. He's seen some mad atmospheres. So I'd like to think he can cope with it.
San Siro, Napoli,
big teams.
Yeah,
big teams.
Also, as well, I wanted to let's talk about Palace's form as well. So, they're not going through the best of times, but in their last 5 games, they have drawn against Newcastle and against Man United, albeit they lost their most recent game against United. They did have a draw in there as well. So, yeah, they might not be going through their best patch by any stretch of the imagination, but they could potentially get a draw and even go one better and get that, let's say a last minute winner, for example. How fearful are we of, their style of play and Patrick Vieira as well as manager? Is that something that worries you, Ben, or do you still see us being way the stronger team?
Yeah, well, I think we will still be the strongest team. I honestly can't think of any Palace strengths right now. Yeah, like I said, especially without Zaha in it. Maybe you can argue if they've ground out a few draws recently. They've got a solid defence in that respect, maybe.
They lost Anderson, which was a big blow, I think, personally. I think that's equally as big as Zaha, to be honest. Because whenever I watched him, to be fair to Anderson, and even against us, remember, was it at Selhurst Park? He had an absolute... him and Gahey were just... Game. Yeah, him and Gahey were just absolute, just solid foundation.
But that's the thing, isn't it? So like they might not be in form now, but then they'll just all of a sudden have an incredible defence. Yeah. At least is able just have unbelievable performances, and at least they'll whip one top bins with his wonderful left foot. All of a sudden, it's so difficult to judge. Richard,
who's replaced Anderson, to be fair to him, he's actually played really well. But it's just interesting to see whether a defensive Klein, Mitchell, and Gahey and Richards will be enough to keep out the firepower we have at the moment. I suppose that would be the key question. And do you reckon we can do that, Ryan? Or do you reckon they can do that? Sorry.
I think with Matoma's current form, you'd like to think. I saw his quote today saying that he's loving the pressure. That's such a great quote to have. I mean, to not only be absolutely on fire and being arguably one of the best attackers in the league and scoring so many goals, to come out and say, look,
better than Rashford.
I'm loving this pressure. Yeah, better than Rashford. The way that he's almost just loving this, all the eyes are on him now. I think it makes him even stronger, and that's the sort of thing we have not had. That presence we haven't had that at Brighton in the Premier League anyway. Especially coming up against Palace in a big game. I mean, one thing I would say is you look at that Chelsea game, and I know that we're not technically rivals with Chelsea, but to play them so quickly after everything that happened and then turn up and win 4-1 under De Zerbi, I think if that's anything to go by, it's proof that we do have it in us to turn up in these big games. And so, as I said to you before, I think if there's anyone to do it, it's a man like De Zerbi. Just seems that sort of ruthlessness that we need.
Yeah. And also as well, talking of De Zerbi, on the flip side, we've got 2 homegrown players that are very prominent at the moment. So Lewis Dunk, of course, who's just always a solid figure. But Solly March has picked up a lot of form and been playing out of his skin recently. How important do you think it is to have those homegrown players that know how much it means to the club and to us as fans? Let's start with you, Ben. Obviously, March has been on flames recently. Do you think that comes into it like into these games, or do you think, oh, it's just an added, not like it's an added bit of, oh, that's quite nice to have Solly March and Dunk who get the magnitude of the game? Do you think it matters anymore in football? Like
I can imagine like maybe some of the newer players or the foreign players, they'll obviously have heard that there's a rivalry there, but maybe not understand it. And people like even
can't blame them,
yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, not many people do they really? But I can imagine people like Lewis Dunk, especially Solly March, will have told De Zerbi about it. They would have been asked about it by some of the players, and there's definitely would have been a conversation that they've had, maybe multiple, about what it means and why it's so big. And just I'm sure Lewis Dunk and Solly March will be wanting to get that in the newer players' heads and make them understand why this is such a massive game for the club and the fans.
And especially Matoma as well, like what Ryan said earlier about his attitude and about his mentality. It seems like, first of all, he loves the pressure, but then I think he'd love knowing that we want to beat Palace as much as we do as fans. I think the players will just automatically be like, right, well, let's do it for the fans. Like, fuck Palace.
Even your captain. Your captain's so up for it, and your captain's a hope, from the same place as the club, and he will understand it more than anyone.
Brighton fan.
Brighton fan, definitely not Chelsea fan. But yeah, I'm sure the players will want to do it even more for Lewis Dunk, and obviously, Solly March, like we said.
And Brian?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, no, I agree pretty much with what Ben said, to be honest with you. But, at the same time, I think our quality overall should hopefully shine through. I mean, the likes of Purvis, Stupinian, etc. I mean, they might be new into the team. They might not quite understand what the rivalry is. But, you saw, like, for example, Matoma in Brussels for USG. He scored in a derby game. So he knows how to do it. And I saw that he actually went up to the fans like this. So maybe he's got a little bit about him as well when it comes to it. But but at the same time, it is great to have people like Dunk who have been here since they were a kid. And same with Solly March, who's been here since he was a kid, to just have that bit of feeling towards it and a bit of bitterness as well. I mean, there's nothing wrong with a bit of, bitterness when it comes to these games, because otherwise, what's the point in everyone going to watch it?
Yeah, no, 100%. And we've talked obviously about Palace and our, who we might fear or who we might not fear come the weekend. But let's talk about our players a bit more. Who do you see De Zerbi making any major changes, or do you see him just basically replicating what we've done in the past 5 to 6 games, where he's quite consistent with his lineups? There's a few changes, obviously. I know he doesn't really like to go too crazy, but he does make quite bold decisions. There's, I think, was it a couple of games ago when we all were a bit like, whoa, this lineup's a bit out there, but it seems to every time pay off. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So, do we think, and Ryan, we'll start with you. Do you see him making any big changes? And if there was any changes, what would you want to see?
I think at the moment, why change what's working? I think, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, as the old saying goes. But at the same time, you never know. Like, as we always keep saying, the occasion of these things, you might want your bigger heads in there rather than probably throwing in 18-year-olds. But then De Zerbi doesn't seem to go with that philosophy anyway. He just thinks if you're good enough, you're old enough, which I respect. So if he sees Buonanotte having a great sort of week in training, I wouldn't be surprised to see him just put him in there against Palace at Selhurst. But at the same time, again, you've got McAllister coming back. I'd expect him to start straight away. Caicedo, whether he starts Gilmore with them, which would be, I think, quite nice, because I don't think Lallana will be back in time. Who else have we got in there? Gross, I'd imagine.
The question is Ferguson back?
Ferguson, good point. Yeah,
Ferguson. I'll give you a bit of team news actually. I've got it here from Who Scored. I don't know how reliable they are, but this is according to Who Scored. So for Palace, Ferguson, Joel Ward, and MacArthur all remain sidelined. Joachim Andersen may be in line to return for the game, and Wilfried Zaha remains out with a hamstring injury. And then for Brighton, obviously Colwill is still ruled out. Ferguson to be assessed, and Lallana to be assessed, and McAllister obviously returns from suspension. So that's quite interesting. There might be, Ferguson might be back. Zaha is out, it seems, and Anderson potentially back for Palace. So, I mean, I feel like De Zerbi's got pretty much aside from obviously Lallana, because we talk about experienced heads, Ryan. For me, straight away, you think Lallana, get him in there.
Yeah.
He gets these big games. I'll definitely start him if he was fit, but is he fit? We don't know. But
the big question, I think, is as Ben said, Ferguson, because obviously Undav, although he had those sort of horrendous misses, he was pretty good in the game.
Yeah, would you start him?
overall. I probably would keep him in the team, because I think that on another day, I mean, off Undav's track record of goals and the way he's so sort of consistently prolific, if there's one thing that Undav is clinical. I mean, apart from that obviously horrendous sort of minute that he had, I can't imagine that would happen again. I mean, I'd like to think not anyway. So my thinking is, yes, I'd keep him in there because he's clearly getting a better grip of the team. I mean, he's obviously playing a lot more involved. His first touch is very good. His turn of pace isn't actually too bad either. He's starting to link up a lot more up front. So I wouldn't be too against seeing him play. But obviously, we know how good Ferguson is. So it's that big question over, do you just throw him back in, or is Ferguson too soon? Is he too young to just throw back in? Because you don't want to just completely make a mess of his career if he gets injured again, So I would probably keep Undav in for that reason.
100%. And
I was just going to quickly say, a pair that we haven't seen together since Leicester away would be Alexis and Caicedo. Obviously, Caicedo was brought in for a cameo against against Bournemouth. Had a good reception. Most likely, probably will start, and then obviously, like you said, Alexis and McAllister will be back, but those two will be playing again for sure. But then I would probably maybe have Welbeck over Undav. I think just for experience maybe, and then have the wingers playing off of Welbeck like Matoma, Solly, March. I think maybe down that route, and then potentially bring Undav on.
Okay, let's do.
That's if Ferguson's injured, by the way.
Yeah, let's do our lineup. So I'll start. Okay, so I'll do my Brighton lineup. Fuck Palace. We won't worry about them. So I'd go in goal. Obviously Sanchez. I'd go. Now, because I know he's been playing Gross like right back, hasn't he? And then, so I don't know how I'm going to do. So okay, Estepinian, Dunk, and fucking would you start? Is Webster? Would you start Webster?
Yeah.
Oh,
I think you would.
Yeah,
I
Webster.
would.
Yeah,
Good
Webster.
team.
Yeah, Webster. and then pivot Caicedo, McAllister, easy. March, Matoma. And then if fit, do you know what? If fit, I'll put Ferguson up top because I really like the way he was playing before he got injured. And I think De Zerbi trusts him. I really do think he does. And in behind, I'd have, Lallana if he's fit. But that's solely dependent on whether he's fit enough. And then obviously you'd have to fit Gross in there as well, probably out right back or wherever De Zerbi sort of plays him nowadays. That would be my. I think that's my 11. If I've got
I think you missed a right back. Did you? I think.
No, I said Gross if he.
Yeah.
I did say Gross. Oh, okay, right, got you.
Yeah.
Right, I'll do mine, but I'll do it with the injury. So no Ferguson, no Lallana.
Okay.
So yeah, Sanchez, Estepinian, Webster, Dunk, Lamptey, and then Caicedo, Alexis, Gross, Matoma, March, Welbeck. I think.
Nice. And Ryan, any changes?
Okay. Yeah, probably Sanchez, Estepinian, Lamptey, Veltman, Dunk.
Interesting.
I think Caicedo,
We all got
McAllister,
very different
Gilmore.
lineups.
Yeah, McAllister, Caicedo. I'll keep Gilmore in. Matoma, Undav.
He's dropping
and March.
Matoma.
Well, no.
No, I said Matoma, Undav, March.
Perfect timing though.
Yeah,
He's like,
that's
who's
what I'll
dropping?
go
You went Matoma.
Yeah,
that-
sorry. Yeah, Matoma, Undav, March.
Was that no
That's
Gross
11.
then?
Yeah.
Oh, good point.
Yeah, this
Good point.
is what
Didn't think
I was
about
struggling with.
Gross.
Like, how do I fit Gross in? But then, and also, I'd love to have Lamptey. So, but it's really interesting that we all got very different sort of starting
Maybe
levels.
take Gilmore out for Gross in that sense. Then I just think it's really harsh to drop a lot of players because.
Yeah.
But then this is why I'm the manager, isn't it? Because I just feel like no, he had a decent game, and But I think
that's the thing.
it's hard, isn't it? Because you want to give people a decent run of games, like Billy Gilmore, for example, like Tarek.
This is a cup final, isn't it?
And obviously we'll keep Gross in. But yeah, it is a cup final.
Best team.
Yeah. And then,
No, I agree.
Yeah. So, boys, I know sort of we could talk about this for years and days, but so just a couple of things before we sort of wrap up. I suppose this is just I thought there's a couple of bits I've seen again via Who Scored, which seems to be a great website for facts and information. So top players for each club, well, top goal scorers. You got Trossard, who's obviously left now, Pascal Gross and McAllister for us. Then Zaha, Edouard, and Eze for Palace. And assists, you've got Elise, Eze, and Zaha for Palace. And then for us, it's March, Gross, and Welbeck, which is quite interesting. And then the Seagulls look to be favourites for this game. However, they haven't beaten Palace in the last 6 competitive meetings between the pair, losing twice.
6 games.
Yeah, apparently
Wow.
the last six competitive games. Is that right? I feel like that's wrong, isn't it?
It must be.
It's probably-
Yeah, no, I think
Well,
that'd be
I
about right.
assume it's
We're
right.
not beating them in 6 games.
I mean, it just feels mad. Yeah, that
yeah,
is mad.
that doesn't.
I mean,
that seems mad.
mate, every time we play Palace, it seems to fall in February. It always seems to mess it up.
Is that your
Because
birthday
this
curse?
birthday
Oh.
curse,
Yeah,
mate,
yeah.
which I always bang on about every single year. But the trouble is, we're coming back towards it again, and we've got Palace again. And I always just think, I remember last time it was Benteke, wasn't it? And they barely had a single touch, and then they scored like a week before my birthday,
Literally scored with 2 touches.
and it was like
on Mateta.
90,
Oh,
yeah,
Mateta, yeah.
something
Mateta
crazy.
and Ben and Benteke.
And I was just like, "Are you serious?" And every single time it happens. So for that reason, I do worry.
For that
But-
reason, I'm out.
I'm out.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like I'm being way too negative on this
yeah.
pod because
What-
we
what-
shouldn't be because we're so good at the moment.
We're mentally
But it's just-
scarred, that's why, mate.
Yeah, yeah.
We're scared. We're scared.
And on that note, Ryan, let's do our score predictions. I'll kick us off. Do you know what? Away from home, I'm beaten, I believe, in the last 4. I feel confident. We're playing really well. We're playing good football. And I know, it's a one-off game kind of thing with Palace, but I think we're going to win 2-1. 2-1 to
Okay.
Albion. Ryan?
Okay. De Zerbi ball at Selhurst.
Yeah, come on, mate.
Reality, yeah.
5-0.
Reality says if we just forget rivalry, it's a game. You look at that team, you look at us up together, you would like to think you'd win the game. If you're De Zerbi, you'd be looking at this like, we need to win this game. We want to push for Europe, whatever. We need to win this game. Simple as that. So rival game adds an extra touch to it. Every Palace fan I've spoke to said 3-0 Brighton, 4-0 Brighton, 2-0 Brighton. So I'm going to stick with what they're saying, but I'm going to say 3-1. I think that they will score. It feels like they'll always score, but I think quality will overrun in the end, and we'll almost get that third one as they're putting pressure on, and just finish it off. That's my hope, anyway.
Love it. Love
3-1.
it. Ben, your score prediction?
Just whilst you two have been doing that, I've been going from like 2-1 Palace to 1-0 to 3-0 Brighton. I'm still so undecided. It's so hard. 'Cause you think on form, with quality,
I get
we should, right? But then you just never know. I might have to. I'm just gonna say, yeah, okay, 2-0 Brighton. Just
2-0
manifest it.
Love it.
He
Love
does
it.
not
Well,
believe that.
Yeah, got 3-1 Ryan. I've got 2-1 and Ben's gone 2-0.
Yeah, let's do it.
2-0.
All right. Well, listen, boys, absolutely great to have everyone back together again. I know we had it last episode, but it's another one. It's 2 and 2, 3 days. 2 and 3 days. But yeah, big game on the weekend. Hopefully, we can get the W. But boys, as always, make sure everyone who's watching, like, subscribe, comment, do all that good stuff.
Yeah,
Really
comment
appreciate it.
your 11s for Brighton as well.
Yes, comment your 11s, and also
Vicente Guaita as well. I just remembered him. He always seems to turn up against Brighton, doesn't he?
He does,
He has like
yeah.
his once in a year game, and then just goes back to being like mediocre sort of goalkeeper for the rest of the year. I'm sorry, I completely interrupted everything. But I just had that memory of like he's just going to be absolutely world class, isn't he? It's going to be really hard to get past, but we're still going to score 3, so it's fine. Don't worry.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to win. W's in the chat. W's in the chat. And then finally, if you're listening on Apple and Spotify, please do leave a comment or share it or whatever you do on those platforms. Peace out, A-Town down, and we'll see you after. Oh yeah, we've got some special guests coming up in the coming.
Yes.
We do.
We do.
So yeah,
Finally,
watch out
it's
for that
taken
as well.
ages to get these guys sorted.
Finally.
Yeah.
Let's go.
So it should be a good one. And and also I potentially won't be here. I'm going to be away. So yeah, enjoy it without me.
America.
Probably much better. Yeah,
Enjoy
America,
without me.
fun, yeah.
Sounds so
Stateside
depressing.
Seagulls.
It's like,
Stateside Seagulls. Oh, we can have the big link up with Stateside.
oh, you got to
Seagulls.
link up with them.
Yeah,
Yeah, you
I
got
don't know
me
where
on
they are though. They're probably like the other
I
side.
met
of
up
the
with Toronto Seagulls when I went to Toronto.
No
They were
way.
right.
That's sick.
Shout out them.
That's it.
Yeah, I actually did. I just forgot to ever plug it.
There
Just-
must be like a fan base. Like if we tweet out on Seagull Social, there'll be someone there, won't there?
Yeah, sure they will.
Yeah,
Just say like, is there anyone in New York? Andy Bajania. No, wait, where are you going? Not in New York. Where are you going?
Arizona.
Oh,
Yeah.
maybe not.
Anyone in
I don't
Arizona?
know.
Shout out. Peace out.
The
A-Town
Arizona
down.
Albion.
Oh, there'll be someone. There'll be someone.
Peace out.
Without a doubt.
Peace.